Let's start today. Let's say in Europe with Mohamed Salah, because we mentioned it briefly on Monday, the Jamie Carragher comments about
he'll never be considered for Ballon d'Or, or it's difficult for him to be considered for Ballon d'Or.
because
I'm paraphrasing.
He's not playing in any serious tournaments.
He doesn't play in any major international tournaments. And, shouts to Micah and shouts to Daniel Sturridge sitting next to him. We're like, have you not heard of AFCON, bro? Because I think it seems an entire continent gets involved in a big tournament.
And I think this is, I had seen.
What upset me the most was the reaction when Jamie goes, oh, come on. As if, stop playing around. And it's like, nah, maybe y'all don't consider it a major tournament, but it is a major tournament.
And I forgot who posted this, and I just saw their TikTok not too long ago, but somebody was just pointing out that why it's so important to have Black media in Amobi Okugo, by the way, a friend of the show, who spoke to him at TST. Amobi Okugo mentioned, he's like, this is why it's important to have Black soccer commentators to push back on moments like this, because like a lot of pundits or panels themselves, sometimes there's not a lot of diversity there. And Jamie Carragher's comment could have just been like, oh yeah, but I guess it's not that serious. It's Jamie Carragher. He won a Champions League. I guess he knows what he's talking about. And it's so easy to dismiss the things that maybe are not that you're not totally focused on.
I also think it's a symptom of the Premier League mindset around the sport of football, that's the most important thing in the world, because the AFCON is often looked at as like, oh, why do some of our best African players have to go play in this tournament mid-season? Yeah. And, oh, this is why some managers are believed to not be buying African players, because now you have to sort of lose them for a month, or maybe there's a major injury that happens at this tournament, and now you lose a great player, because a lot of the other players that some of these other a lot of the other tournaments that these nations take part in are done in the off season, and this one, because of weather and because of many other reasons, it has to happen mid-season. And now there's this theory that it's like, not only is it less than the other tournaments because we don't focus on it enough, we don't talk about it enough, but now it's like this is a hindrance to the real important stuff, right? And that mindset carries through, and I think you saw that in those comments.
Exactly, and there's a couple other specifics to, we're going to talk about Mo Salah and basically should he be the best candidate, the first candidate for Ballon d'Or. But I've watched maybe the last, I think, 3 AFCONs. Like really, I didn't really watch it before. And it used to be on BN, and I didn't have that.
It used to be hard to find.
Yeah, it used to be hard to find. And now, after watching it, and especially the last, it was Ivory Coast Nigeria final, and Ivory Coast won, and then even the, Mo Salah hasn't won he hasn't won AFCON. Egypt.
There was an iconic moment in the previous AFCON where I believe he was up against Senegal, about to score a penalty, and there was hundreds of lasers banging off his face.
And it's like, that's probably a big reason why he has not won it, because there are 4,000 lasers pointed at his eyes while he's trying to take a penalty.
But he was stoic in that moment.
Yeah, and at that point, I'm like, there should be something done to prevent that, right? Yeah. Just for the legitimacy of the competition, that can't happen. Even sometimes in other tournaments when there's even one laser, people are like, whoa, this cannot happen.
But I feel like if there's one laser, you're like, get that guy. When there's 1,000, you're like, what are we going to do? Kick out all the fans?
Put up a giant mirror behind the goal or do something. We got to come up with ideas, folks.
It'd be great if he pulls out a little mirror and he's like, how about that? How about that? And everyone's like,
oh my God.
I don't like it. Why is this happening to me?
I'm just trying to help my team win.
Oh, my retinas are burning now.
But AFCON, more than anything, has been nothing but incredibly entertaining. Insane goals, absolute chaos sometimes. And
the drama behind it is also insane. I mean, I love it.
I think the idea,
it's a rich with conversation type of tournament.
This is a very not to get too political, but it's a very sort of colonial mindset of they might be saying with Jamie Carragher being like, come on, there's a little bit of they don't know the game like we know the game.
What? A British person looking down on another nation that plays the sport?
There's a lot
That's crazy.
It trickles down, that kind of a philosophy, and it's like if you watch the games, and I've never been to a live AFCON game, but that's also been a thing I saw in Amobi's comments of people being like, go to an AFCON game and you're not gonna feel this way because you see the not only like the quality on the pitch, but then you're also seeing the fandom, right? There, and for a lot of those players, like when Ivory Coast and Drogba, when Drogba was there or whatever, like these are heroes to their nations.
Yep.
And they get to see them play at home in an important tournament, every 2 years, and that is it's a meaningful thing. And
the conversation of the sub-Saharan versus, the North African teams, there's a lot of cool conversations that happen around it. So just looking down upon it is not the way to go, at least not for us.
But and when we talk about Mo Salah, that mentality has to influence the Ballon d'Or voters as well, right? Because if Jamie Carragher is saying that on a big platform, you don't think it trickles in how they're going to vote?
Yeah, of course.
A little bit. So,
and I think it does lead to the conversation, right? We were talking about how Erling Haaland should be considered for the Ballon d'Or last season, or last year, I should say. And, look how many goals you score, blah, blah, blah. But could he do it in the World Cup? That team doesn't even qualify for the World Cup. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I get that how you do across all major tournaments, international, right? Everywhere you play football should count towards Ballon d'Or. But when you're having the stellar season that Mohamed Salah is having, 20 goals and 20 assists, if I'm not mistaken, maybe I don't know if we need to update that, but what I see is someone who is playing
25 goals, 17 assists. He's on pace for 2020 season.
That's what it is. Okay. Yeah. He's on pace for a 2020 season, which is crazy. I mean, when you're seeing how he's playing, especially at the age he is, what I'm looking at is someone who should absolutely be in the conversation. And I almost don't really care. Unless when Vinny couldn't play well with Brazil, that said to me, like, okay, that should take points away of the overall score, right?
Right.
That counts against how I view your footballing year. I don't see anything from Mohamed Salah that says this shouldn't count towards him. He can't play every position on the Egyptian team.
Right.
And he's playing so stellar. He's the best player right now in the Premier League.
Yeah, and watching the game yesterday against Newcastle, that was kind of the I'm watching him and I'm like, why does he's not necessarily the fastest, but why does he seem so calm and comfortable with every single touch? With almost every single touch suggests that he's probably going to score or get an assist. And he had the assist to Alexis McAllister. But even in that moment, you're just like, he doesn't seem worried about the outcome. He's like, I know something positive is going to happen. And there really aren't many players that you watch in the Premier League that look like that they look like, hey, I'm about to make something happen without worrying like, oh, is the defender going to take it away from me or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's Salah reminds me a little bit of Messi's kind of mindset and confidence when he is on the ball. When Messi is, even we know he's obviously the greatest player that ever lived, but he is not like, he doesn't do step overs. He really doesn't do anything that fancy. He doesn't do tricks. He's not Ronaldinho.
Right.
And Salah's,
there's no boom cha cha music over his highlights. It's not needed.
There's no music. He's like, turn the music down. You're distracting me.
You
from
might
my
want to pull up some light jazz because I'm about to cook you very calmly.
Okay, are we in an elevator?
Bro, music about to make some money.
Yo, the CVS music is bumping, bro.
Bro, it's crazy.
So that's kind of where Salah is right now, where he is just, nobody's taking the ball from him. He is not really doing too much on the ball. He is just moving forward, making you worry if he's going to cross it.
He's the type of player that can say like, hey, I'm going to go to your right, and I'm going to cross back to my left, and then I'm going to shoot, and it's going to go in. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. And there's no look on his face, like to your point, where he's worried. I think we're all saying the same thing. We're watching a player who's not only great, not only hitting their prime at the right moment, or a little bit later than I think we all expected, because he obviously keeps his body in great shape, but we're also seeing someone who's in peak form, and their team is playing at a level that allows them to play in peak form. I mean, all of these things need to culminate for you to get to a Ballon d'Or season. He's having this moment. To take that away from him because maybe you don't personally rate AFCON a little higher, not you specifically, you and the royal you. I think just sort of demises the what we're seeing here. This is the type of season we're going to be talking about in 10, 15 years, being like, yo, I saw that. I was there that season. I saw that happen.
I wonder. I mean, it's a. I think more. I disagree with that part because I think people are not going to be talking about it because it's not stylish enough and.
I disagree. I think we're going to be talking about contract year. You know how we're like mixtape Lil Wayne?
Okay, that's
you know
fair.
what I mean? Oh, mixtape Wayne was different. We're going to say contract year Salah. It hits different.
Look, and it probably has something to do with Arne Slot as well, and maybe the Salah's confidence is trickling down to the rest of the team as well because I remember sort of in previous years. The fans' frustration with Salah, or missing certain goals, or
go back a few years before that, there was the best player in the world conversation.
Right?
Is Mohamed Salah the best player in the world? And then all of a sudden, it's like, is he doing enough for the team?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's a little bit of like, you know how sometimes with like wide receivers in the NFL that like stories come out about like not a great work ethic or whatever. Sometimes it's like. Like the team itself plants that story.
Well, they usually do that on contract years.
On contract years.
So they're like, well, now we got to pay all the negative
and
press.
Salah's having such a undeniable year that like
there's no
story that's going to come out about what he gives to the club. That's why Carragher even is like pay him what he wants or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's just something that is trickling down to the rest of the team because you also see when Salah doesn't pass the ball and takes a shot that maybe crashes into a defender or whatever, nobody is upset. The team is not upset. They're like, yeah, he should go for his chances because he's going to get them from time to time.
To your point, I don't think there's anyone in the stadium, regardless of what shirt you're wearing, regardless of who you're rooting for, that thinks that's not going to go in.
Right.
So when it doesn't, you're like, well, clearly someone else's fault. You know what I mean? Like when there's like. Chelsea's probably the one team where, and maybe Arsenal right now, where Arsenal takes a shot, your first thought is, that's not going to go in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, how is that going to go? What a terrible shot. And it goes and you're like, oh, I'm pleasantly surprised. You're not pleasantly surprised with anything Mohamed Salah's doing because you're expecting greatness across the board.
Yeah.
Is he in the running right now for your Ballon d'Or? Do you think there's anyone else that competes that's having a better season, a better year, I should say, because it's a calendar year?
I don't think so. I mean, the Lamine Yamal is like the other name,
right? That's a big name. I can see that.
That's like you know.
Rafinha had a shout for a while as well.
Yeah, Rafinha is also. So it feels like it's a Barcelona player.
Yeah.
We'll see how the rest of the year goes.
I think Champions League, as Champions League comes to a close, we're going to see a lot.
Yeah. There has to be like a good season in the Premier League for Salah is not enough to do it.
Yeah.
So we'll see what trophies they end up with. Obviously it looks like the Premier League is kind of locked up.
Yeah. It's probably there.
Arsenal's not really doing much for their case.
Thanks, guys.
But so we shall see. All right, let's move on to Spain.
Let's talk about Copa del Rey.
Yeah, because obviously Real Madrid played against Real Sociedad and they won 1-0. Just real quick, shout out to Real Sociedad, that the social admin. There was a TikTok that they made of it was like a compilation of them hitting the post, and it was like an audio of like a song of basically a guy who was singing a song that was about to start but never got it. Like the beat didn't drop at the right time. Like he always jumped in at the right time. So he kept basically like the question was that they were posing was like, why the hell didn't the ball go in? Like and they keep showing it.
I think
over
I know
and
the
over.
audio you're talking about. It's like, oh wait, here it comes. Yeah.
Really, really funny. But the big game, the other semifinal, the first leg, Barcelona against Atletico Madrid. A game where on paper you're like, all right, this will be an entertaining game, but given Barcelona's maybe form right now, you would think that they would probably win this game.
But this is another one of the, I mean, no, this doesn't get the highlights. This doesn't get the mentions that obviously a Clásico would. But this is a massive match. You know, you've got Atletico Madrid proving this season or trying to prove this season that they belong within those upper echelons. They've changed the way they play. They're not the defensive stalwart team they used to be.
Sure.
In the last 2 seasons, they've really become much more offensive attacking.
They have Manchester City players that Manchester City could use right now.
Yeah. Dude, the Manchester City B team is killing it over in Madrid. But we talked about this the last time. Sorloth scoring in the last second against Barcelona to win the game was such an epic moment. This boy done did it again, but this time to draw in the first leg of the Copa del Rey match.
Right. So Sorloth, he has scored the most. Shout out to producer Carter for the stat. Has scored the most 90-plus minute goals against Barcelona since 2003, 2004.
That's a long time ago.
So that's and he's with 3, which is
Barcelona's actually pull that back out because Barcelona's XG in the match, which you'd expect. They are a highly offensive team. They're like defending. We'll get to it, but let's everyone run up and see if the 11 can score. They had 3.59, so basically 3.6 to Atletico Madrid's 1.5,
which 1.5 for Atletico. I was like, wow, it was a good day at the office, right? You know,
I mean, used to be, right?
Used to be,
trying
I'm
to be
saying.
much more. But the score was 4-4.
Yeah.
Atletico Madrid made a lot more use of their chances.
had 8 goals in this game. Atletico get 2 quick goals in the first minute and in the 6th minute. So it was a rough start. And then Barcelona end up within the first half go into halftime up 3-2.
Yeah.
So this is when I'm watching this game and I'm like, this is just what is going on?
Yeah.
Like a team that we expect good defensive.
It's like when boxers just kind of go for it. You know what I mean? Like they're like, we'll defend.
Well, sometimes I think when I watch games like this that are really, really crazy scorelines, I'm like, midweek, how much rest did the teams get? Like, you know, because it's rare unless it's like probably like Liverpool this year, where like they play Saturday and then they play Tuesday
yeah.
and they're like solid in both games. Like there's
I think in order to be a modern footballer, right? If you go back like 15 years ago, you had to play once a week.
Right.
Now, bro, you got to play a game. You have to be, your body has to be prepared to play a match every 3 days.
Which is, I mean, comical, really. Yeah. Like, I mean, even
I've had a paper cut take me out for a solid 4 days. These guys are getting stomped on and all this.
I play in my Sunday league.
Yeah.
And
dude, we don't talk about this enough on this show.
I'm just saying,
the real bull.
I'm not in any peak physical shape by any means.
Right.
But I play on Sunday. I usually play 2 games, each game about 40 minutes. I mean, I'm subbing in and out. I mean, how much running am I really doing? I don't know necessarily. It's hard to say.
Small pitch,
but by Thursday, I'm ready to play another game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's 4 days.
That's 4 days.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to at least Friday.
Right.
I'm not physically there. Yeah. I'm not, my thighs are still hurting.
Right.
I'm still recovering a little bit.
Right.
So it's just when
we learned something new here. Professional athletes more prepared to play the game than Christian Polanco.
I'm just saying they're
Who
also.
would have thought?
By
the way, if I played a Sunday game this Sunday, I'd be ready to go in 6 months. So I'm not making fun of Christian.
I'm just saying that when we're both human beings.
Yeah.
Me and a professional athlete.
Yeah.
I'm saying there's a
Hyundai and a Bugatti are both cars, by the way.
The gap. I'm not saying there's not a gap.
Yeah. You're a Hyundai accent compared to this.
But maybe
Veyron.
Maybe 4 days. All I'm saying is like.
Well, I mean, look, that's why you need deeper squads. You need all that.
My argument also is that if they're more rested, we're seeing better quality football.
Right.
But then.
But if everyone's a little tired, it's also pretty great.
Yeah, but I also like 8-goal games. I'm not gonna not want those.
But speaking of like depth, the depth you need in order to take on a match every 3 days, people were wondering why would they spend record money for Julian Alvarez from Manchester City and then go out and get Sorloth. Well, why would you have both? And I think it was actually in reverse. I think they got Sorloth first, but why would you get both? Why do you need both these players? And you're seeing like. I don't know what it is. Diego Simeone, the longest tenured coach in all of Europe, by the way. I think only Schmetzer might be the one who's no, Peter Vermees.
Peter Vermees.
He's like the only one in world football who's been tenured longer. If I'm wrong, please correct me on that. But what we've seen from him is him almost reinventing his style of football, and he understands the sport. He understands soccer at such a deep level. He saw like, oh, okay. They're only going to congest us with more matches. These guys are going to be asked for more. We need to go out and get 2, top-level starters at each position, basically.
Yeah.
And they did that at the striker, which right now might be the 9 might be the hardest position to fill. This guy's got 2 starters on his team, and he doesn't use them both at the same time very often. And you see how essential it is for a guy like Sorloth to come into the match rested. ready to go. Legs not aching when everyone else is like, damn, bro, how long has this match been going?
Bringing the closer.
Yeah, dog. Fucking Sandman playing in the background, bro. Like, what you see is Sorloth comes into a game where Barcelona has been having this massive high line. And yes, every second player on this team is 16 years old, but they have this massive high line. Sorloth's like, I'm not the fastest guy in the world, but I think I could get past these guys a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at the pass played. I forgot who the winger is that the center back is making the pass to the winger, and this is where Jules Koundé slips and gets past, and it's onside. But we're looking at the pass being played right now, but. If you look at the Barcelona players, look at the line. Look at not only just the back line.
Look at where their momentum is carrying them. Look at the back line is currently jogging up for an offside trap.
Exactly. And you see the back line and you can see the lines on the pitch itself. But look at every single Barcelona player that is not a goalkeeper is essentially within the 4 lines on the grass.
Right.
Of the center circle. They're basically bunched in with this very, very high line. They had the lead at 3-2 and currently have the lead at 4-3 in this moment. And you would think Hansi Flick would be like, hey, lock it down.
Yeah.
Let's not do any offside traps. We don't need that right now. Let's just go into the second leg.
This is Hansi Flick, though.
With the lead.
This is why Hansi Flick lasts 3 seasons max everywhere he goes. Because the first season, everyone's like, yo, this is electric. The second season, they're like, yo, we should play a little bit more defensive sometimes. And by the third season, people figured him out. And it's like, yo, it's crazy. You're refusing to change. Because Hansi Flick is like very much like the Ange Postecoglou type.
Sure.
But one of the things that I love is when you look at a play like this, one of the first things that come to mind, De Zerbi talked about this, how he wants none of his center backs to have their shoulders squared to the goal that their team is going for. You want to be open because that shows you're ready to run back. So even if you're running the offside trap, your shoulders need to be open. Look at every one of these players. Their shoulders are more squared, including Jules Koundé, who's about to have the ball sent to his side. Their shoulders are more squared to the goal, which leads me to believe their mentality is we're going to keep running forward. We're not even thinking about the fact that the ball might come back towards us. Look at the time of this 4 minutes of extra time or from a stoppage time. This is the 93rd minute.
Yeah.
This is technically the end of the match. And by the way, this team's done this to you already this season.
Yeah. This seems like an easy opportunity to just get a win and just, play it safe.
Yeah.
Of any time to play it safe. Right now is the best time to do it. And, if Jules Koundé doesn't slip, maybe the result it stays like this. Mm-hmm. But just a wild way to end the game. And Barcelona gets caught the way, the remontada, right?
Yeah.
And they beat Real Madrid a couple weeks ago in the Spanish Super Cup. So the second leg, I think the bigger thing here is that this happened at home.
Yeah, this is at Barca's home.
That was at home, and it's like this is where this should not happen at home. That's really the main thing, and so I think it's a poor result for Barcelona.
Huge for Atleti though. Obviously, there's a second match, and it's basically 0-0, right? It's 4-4 is how it ended. But to pay off the amount that they've spent on this squad to do that, to get a trophy in a season where Barca and Real Madrid are such heavy favorites would be huge for Atleti, so I'm happy for them.
All right, so we'll be on the lookout next week for the second. Is the second leg next week? I think it is, right?
No, I think it's like April.
It's like in April
2nd.
right?
April 2nd.
Which totally makes sense.
Yeah, that's how the sport works.
Okay.
All right, so we'll see you guys in a few months. All right, we'll finish this
Champions League, I believe, is next week, right? I think Champions League comes back next week.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, last thing before we get to our interview with the Box to Box producers. Jose Mourinho's in the news, and it's always for a good reason.
This guy, he knows how to get his name in the headlines. This one, maybe not. He's not so happy about.
Headline is Galatasaray accused Mourinho of quote unquote racist statements and vowed to take legal action.
They vow to take criminal proceedings. They said something like of that nature. They feel like this goes against. And look, I think the three capital teams, right? Fenerbahce, Besiktas, and Galatasaray. Heated rivalry. They love playing these games back and forth. But this feels like a moment where it feels like, we're at a moment where it's a bit of an impasse. Like, oh, did this go too far?
Yeah, and the specific, ever since Mourinho got to Turkey and been the coach of Fenerbahce, there's always been. I mean, anywhere he goes,
The
there's always
first thing he said was, my son, nobody watches the Turkish league. It smells bad, which is it's a whole league. I don't know how it smells bad, but he was kind of talking about how like we need to do better, but they don't. A lot of his stuff isn't taken in context always, right? Because he says such wild stuff in the middle that you kind of just take that part. And even that, I'm like, maybe it's delivered a little too harshly. And this feels like another situation where it's, what you're being accused of. I don't think. I mean, what's his name? He's being accused of racist comments because he said Galatasaray either equalized or won the match on a goal. I can't remember.
I don't remember exactly.
But he said that he kind of had a bunch of stuff to say, but he said that the Galatasaray players were all jumping like little monkeys.
Yeah, which is
immediately harkens to some racist thought.
It was 0-0. He was saying it for every referee decision that went through.
Got you. It was 0-0. So this is for referee decisions,
right? So I guess their reaction. So I guess he was upset at how the bench was reacting for the opposing team. And this is, I think this is just kind of, do I think Jose Mourinho is a racist person? And did he mean this in a derogatory way to try to, be just be insulting about black people or these black players in specifically? No. I don't think that, but I do think he is loose-lipped, loose with his language, and things can get and I'll say this, it's something that even for me, as my son is almost 2 years old, and I.
He's saying some wild stuff already.
I know it's getting crazy, bro. I'm just glad he's not in Turkish football. No, it's that I read a lot of like children's stories, and like I read a Curious George. We got him like this picture, like a picture book, but it's more like it's like a thing that it connects to your iPhone and it projects. It's like remember the three. I don't remember what they're called. The TikTok. How do you? I forgot what it was called.
Yeah, I'm glad for our audio listeners. We're just making onomatopoeia sounds.
But there's one like that for iPhone, and it projects basically the book onto the wall. And we got a Curious George one, and the Curious George one is like, the man in the yellow hat goes to Africa to save this monkey.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what the hell is like? This is. Yeah. I understand that like. Surfacey, this seems like it feels fairly normal, I guess, but it's like so coded in like what like this. The man in the yellow hat is saving the monkey from this uncivilized landscape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like things like that where I'm like, it's not.
There's a Disney exec right now being like, no one would ever sneak messaging into children's stuff.
I'm like, it's not racist, but it's like weirdly coded.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what
you didn't need to do all that,
right? And that's what I think Mourinho sort of like. And this is a common phrase, like jumping like monkeys and whatever. And it's a common thing in even children's language.
Yeah, but I also think because of how derogatory he's been, this felt like the straw that broke the camel's back.
Correct.
In a sense.
Yeah, he's already said much more derogatory things.
So now this is like Exhibit Z, you know what I mean? And I want to say Didier Drogba, right? A lot of questions have been asked of Didier Drogba, a Galatasaray legend, right? And someone who played under Jose Mourinho. He came out and said, "Dear Galatasaray, you know how proud I was to wear the yellow and red jersey. Also, my love for the most decorated club in Turkey. We all know how passionate and heated rivalries can be, and I've been lucky enough to experience it. I've seen the recent comments about Jose Mourinho. Trust me when I tell you, I have known Jose for 25 years, and he is not a racist. And history, past and recent, is there to prove it. Let's focus on our game, support our brilliant Lions, and let's win the league and get close to our 5 stars. And get closer. How can my dad be a racist? Come on, guys." Now, I love the fact that people are stepping. If you know him in the past, and Didier Drogba being a legend from Galatasaray, someone who those fans really connected with, it's great that you're stepping up and not protecting, but
defending.
Defending,
right?
yeah. And I think at the end of the day, no, he's not racist. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it's like, all right, you could be derogatory, you could be funny, you could be all these things. When you step over that line and when you say something that people are like a little uncomfortable with, just like any comedian would, if you're on stage and you're having a great set and then you say something, people go, ugh. You know, you should think to yourself, hey, you know what? That might not be the best way to say that. Maybe I should change that wording around in that joke. And I think this is one of those moments where you say, hold your hand up and go, you know what? I didn't use the right terminology. I wasn't being racist. I've never disrespected those types of people. I would never disrespect you. I would never disrespect this. I would never be, derogatory towards anyone. That said, I didn't say that right,
Yeah.
And then this is a way you got to hold your hat in your hand a little bit.